Greetings, fellow environmentalists and mindset changers. The mood in the country is positive. People feel free and they definitely have a positive mindset because we have a new leadership that's coming into power after the elections. But we thought it's important to reflect on the years before this election, the years before this new freedom that we actually feel. We had a situation where governance and environmentalism were always pulled apart. Politics and environmentalism were not supposed to mix. We had a situation where environmental NGOs and environmentalists tried as hard as they could to avoid talking about the government whenever they addressed any natural resource issue. And that is wrong, because it is impossible to separate politics from any environmental issue. All the laws that govern any natural resource in Zambia, whether it's forests, whether it's wildlife, whether it's rivers, all of those are governed by laws, regulations, and policies that are endorsed by the legislature of government. So if there's any problem you want to solve related to natural resources, it's impossible not to engage government. But that was hard to do because every time you engage government, every time you request for help or action from government, the perception was one is against government and most likely sponsored by the opposition. We hope in this new era, in this new government, that will be a thing of the past. Environmentalists should be free to engage politicians in solving any problem. Because of that spirit of stopping people from speaking the truth and addressing the government, a number of environmentalists, both environmental and social, actually had problems. They were put under a lot of pressure and persecution. One case in example is that of an environmentalist based in Lusaka called Mr. Robert Chimambo. His plot, his farm, is being encroached upon by basically people that are attacking him because of the fact that he was a voice for the environment. So we hope this new era will be an era that tolerates discussion, debate, and the right of people and various stakeholders to engage government. Particularly, we would like to talk about Forest 27. We as Miju Eco Care have been talking about Forest 27 from the year 2019, and not once did we get a response from government. No matter how many times we requested to seek an audience, there was no audience offered. And the main accusation was that we are definitely anti-government. The truth is, the problems created in Forest 27 arose because of a decree by the head of state. It's therefore impossible to solve any problems that resulted from that decree without engaging the head of state. It's therefore an appeal to our new head of state, His Excellency President Hakainde Hichilema, that he'll be open to engaging various stakeholders, environmentalists and technocrats to see how we can deal with a number of environmental problems that need sorting out urgently. One of them, of course, being Forest 27. Greetings, fellow environmentalists and mindset changers. Today we are visiting a renowned Lusaka environmentalist, Mr. Robert Chimambo. Welcome to the interview, Mr. Chimambo.
Thank you very much, Amos, and your listeners or viewers.
Thank you so much. Mr. Chimambo, we would like to talk about a number of environmental issues.
Yes.
So initially I'll ask you to talk about Lusaka province and probably just summarize a number of environmental issues that are pertinent in Lusaka.
Yeah. The challenges we face in Zambia is not to understand where we came from. Everybody thinks they've arrived and they do their own thing. Now, Lusaka started about 1913. Critical to the finding of Lusaka is water. Now, water, Lusaka is very far away from the nearest river. Kafue is kilometers away. I think in the olden days it was 50 kilometers. But what the colonialists found was a lot of water here, groundwater. Lusaka sits on an aquifer or a limestone, which has a lot of water. And that is, the guys were thinking, okay, fine, here it's central, but critical way of water. And therefore, from the beginning, the management of water was very critical. The management of groundwater, Lusaka. And then what they did, therefore, was that they set up what is called a system of forest reserves. Okay? From Charleston, you get Charleston Green, they never cut it out to recharge groundwater. You come all the way to Shantung, Forest 26, 27, 26. In Lusaka North, there was 20, where Ngwerere comes. So forests, water and forest were woodlands. That's why they never cut trees in woodlands. It is to capture rainwater. So Lusaka was designed, in fact, in the olden days, they said garden city. That's why you find in woodlands there, in North Mid, where there was no, they planted those trees they planted from Asia. So Lusaka had to have water in order to feed the groundwater. And that is critical. The first boreholes we got was in Lusaka South. There's 55 was a forest reserve there. And again, they kept forestry. So in terms of water and sustainability of Lusaka, it is forests to sustain our groundwater. That is the one. Two, now, safety of that groundwater. We never had septic tanks here. We had night soil service. You know, because when you have a septic tank, you are contaminating groundwater. So they made sure there is nothing. Even in the Matero, we had biodigesters, which they pump out. Like at Chazula, they pump out, take away. So the Lusaka and forest have been like a hand and glove. That's how Lusaka has been managed. Make sure that whatever you deposit doesn't go into groundwater to contaminate groundwater. That has been the story of Lusaka. But unfortunately, like I said, because we don't know the reason why certain things were done, and especially when you have these men that it's colonialists, without knowing that there's nothing colonialist about maintaining the environment. Water is water, whether it's colonial or independence, its systems, the logic of water management is the same. And that is why you find that the problems start, especially after taking this time. When these new guys come, they start now sharing forest reserves without considering why certain things were there. In fact, what is even amazing is that you find that even now, when we have some of the best laws, water resource management, you know, after Rio, all those laws we put in, biodiversity protection, forest protection, water resources management, integrated, even when we have the best laws, that is when now we have gone way out to destroy what is in there, sustainable forest management, sustainable water resources management, nothing. And that's where we have arrived here now, where in the last 10 years or so, 300,000 hectares of forest reserve have been destroyed. Context also is important. Zambia has 40% of the SADC water we supply, and therefore you find that under the SADC protocol, there are things that we are supposed to manage this water in common for the SADC, you know, all these Mozambique, Zimbabwe, yeah. But all those things, especially in the last 11 years, they've thrown everything overboard. That is the problem we are suffering now.
So, having given that background, Mr. Chimambo, I would like you to focus in now on Forest 27. There is a huge debate amongst people. There are those that say it is fine to degazette such a forest. It is fine to promote development. We will not progress as a country without development. That's one school of thought. The other school of thought says, let's keep it as a recharge zone so that we do not disturb our underground water systems. What would be your comment to the school of thought that says development is a must?
You see, Timothy, that's a very prehistoric, atavistic thinking. To say development means destroying forests. That is the kind of thinking maybe 18th century. Today, Europe has reforested 2 times the size of Poland. China has planted trees, 3,000 hectares. We are in a climate impacted world. And what does that tell us? Well, they are telling us that forests are critical to sequestration, bringing carbon. So development does not mean destroying the environment. Keeping trees. You know, you find Central Street in New York. You can't cut a leaf. So that's the very, the way the atavistic maybe catches it. Very primitive way of looking at development. And what is development anyway? The way the development is a misnomer. What has it developed? We have more problems with the development than we ever had when there was no development. So let's refocus on what we mean by development. We have said, the law says, let's keep recharge area where rivers are coming from, where wetlands, let's keep them intact. Why is it saying that? So that so-called development can take place. So forest reserves, Zambezi River, where it comes from, for it to flow, science tells us, you need those forests, first of all to sequestrate the carbon, but also to anchor the water. That is development. Without, when you destroy Zambezi, where will be the Kariba? Where is the Bolozi place? So it is a completely primitive way of thinking that when you destroy, that it's a zero-sum game. You destroy the environment, then you develop. No! Timothy, see what is happening in Europe. Those guys, Germany, you saw it on TV, Manyumba, Yaenda. What have they done? Those guys have been foresting there, but they are trying now to do whatever. But the damage is done. They get rains, which will normally rain for 1 month. They take it in 3 days. The rain cycle is out of work. Why? Because of degradation of the environment. So it is a total primitive, I must use the word that, to think that when you cut down trees you are developing. No. When you develop, this concept of development now is you are part of the environment. You are not outside of it. You are part of the environment. You are in your mother's womb. That's why indigenous people and shamanic people, they call it Mother Earth. We are a part of nothing. Are we out? This is there's a chap called Descartes, some philosopher. He's one who confused a lot of things. What they call reductionism, where he thinks that we can cut you into bits and pieces and put you together. The bits and pieces equal to the sum of. When we cut you up, we can't put you together. Indeed. And that is how the environment, God's environment, it's holistic. We are a part of it. A sum of little parts does not make the whole. So we must think of the environment, especially in the way it is crafted. And that is why, you remember I said we have good laws. Water resources management. We have said integrated water resources management. And therefore we said, why don't we manage water the way God managed it? So you get, for instance, in Zambia with the larger catchment, Opese, Zambezi. Then we have the other which flow into there, Luangwa, Kafue, yeah? And then the sub-catchments there. Within that framework of managing water, we have said we should manage water in its catchment. And therefore, take Charimbana. Charimbana goes into Chongo. Chongo goes into the Zambezi, lower Zambezi. So it's part of that lower Zambezi water system. So if we interfere with Charimbana, which is interfering with Zambezi, we are also affecting the larger basin. The larger Chongwe is dry now because of what we are doing and others. And the Zambezi too. So the key now is to try and manage water systems at points where, like here where we are, water is connected. And that is why I said, we have Environmental Management Act, Water Resources Management, Biodiversity, the town and planning itself. These laws are now working, supposed to work as one, integrated as part of nature. But that, exact the point I'm saying, when new guys come, they don't even understand why things are what they are. And that is where the problem of Forest 27 comes. In 1993, 3,000 people signed a petition to President Chiluba to re-gazette the forest. Because what happened after it was de-gazetted, that's another. Streams and the rivers, they dried, including boreholes, my boreholes. So we signed a petition to President Chiluba. Please, President, can you re-gazette this thing so that our water table can improve? And the President Chiluba in 96 re-gazetted Forest 27 as a recharge area. Now, it doesn't, what has changed now, when you change government, doesn't mean that even the rivers changed. Zambezi Magia starts going somewhere else. No, this Kafue has been flowing, the Charimbana has been flowing from what is now Forest 27 for millions of years. You can change your governments, but the source, the flow of Charimbana is the same. So, but these guys come and they started to share right across the country. But governor, your smart recharge areas. As if when you change government, Luangwa starts going elsewhere, or Kafue, flowing backwards. But that is the problem, I said, without knowing where we are coming from, why we are where we are. And that is a serious problem of Forest 27. People just came in Nyanja, Timothy, you say, kuvione hapa mimba, to eat. And that is what you are seeing here. They came and shared the forest without understanding why did the President Chiluba, through Honorable Harrington, the Minister, Gazette, why do we have environmental water resources management plan? Well, you know, all these things. So it is total, what we would say, kafuafa, you know, gone crazy. In the last 10 years or so, things are just gone crazy. Because the laws are there.
So, Mr. Chinambo, you've been very vocal on Forest 27, and because of your speaking for the forest and the environment, you yourself have become a victim. We know that your own farm is now being grabbed by various people. Could you just tell us what's going on? When we made a turn coming to your farm, we actually saw a sign saying plot for sale. Are you the one selling?
No. Unfortunately, even globally, people that have been trying to say what I'm saying, protect the environment for generations, they've been victims of. There's some, you know, Chico Mendes, his pets in Kenya recently killed that lady who was protecting the forest.
Yeah.
So it is not at a global level. It's unfortunate. It is a normal. It is an occurrence. But in Zambia, it's for the first time that exactly point. Well, of course, I've not been the only one. There have been a lot of people, including yourself. We've all been advocating for environment. But the level where now they actually come to threaten Timothy, Chimambo, Harrington is a new development. So I have a piece of ground. It's on title. You know, I've had this land.
These are the title deeds.
These are the title deeds. I've had it for more than 40 years. I got it from KK in 1981. I was a young man when I came here. So we've had this title for this land for that many years, 40 years. Now, shockingly, of course, we've been advocating for the very reasons that I've given, that you can't disturb Charimbana It is a source of groundwater, not only for Charimbana River, but even Richard groundwater for the city of Lusaka. This is for the greater good. It's not for Chimambo. After all, I'm 75 years in Baimba, I'm out of here. You see, but for generations of people that are coming. So that is what we are saying. Shockingly, and for the first time in our country, and I hope that it doesn't happen again, a group of chaps who are calling themselves cadres of Patriotic Front, they came, first of all, in January, they started to vandalize my property, cutting down trees. It says we've taken off. But just recent, it's shocking. And these are the stories we hear about Sierra Leone and Liberia. 15, 20 of them with beers, drunk. They were here, just 200 meters from my house. And they said, you, Mudala, meaning old man, you have been stopping us from sharing Forest 27. Now we are going to share your land. And that is what's happening. Even now as we are talking. You even find a chap, a small chap who purports to be a lawyer. He's the one who is doing this. But what we are hearing actually, Timothy, now when you ask these so-called cadres, they are actually being said, they are storm troops. Behind them are big people. The story we are hearing, some of them are senior policemen who are sharing the plot. Some of them are judiciary. This exact replica of Liberia and Sierra Leone, where the system is compromised. So what you are seeing happen to Mr. Chimambo in the farm is not cadres. They are big chaps that are pushing these cadres in the PF. But the dangerous and sad part is that we as Zambia can come to that level where they can do that. If they do it to me, Bana, they are coming for somebody else. And we need to stop it. But they are there. I've reported the police, the Lusaka Command, Woodlands Police, dockets. They open even a docket. But nothing. That gives an idea that this thing is orchestrated at a very high level. So we have reached a very dangerous place, where by virtue of the fact that you are advocating for public interest issues like this, you should be a victim. That's what happens in Colombia, all these violence-prone countries. But it's here. My only hope is that Zambia has just made a decision to remove what Mr. Sangwa, the State Council, has described as a cartel, a syndicate of who had captured, of criminals who had captured our country. I hope these new guys, and I'm not even saying we Zambians must ensure that we clean up our country, not leaving it to the Akaindo. No, we have employed these guys. One of the things as environmentalists we must make sure is that we put in place, we put in Whistleblower Act. We must put in place the protection of environmental defenders in law, our laws, so that Timothy or anybody else who is defending the environment is not subjected to threats on their life or property as we've got. So as environmentalists, I'm putting it to you guys, just as we have said, Whistleblowers Act, we should put in place Defenders of the Environment Act, so that those who are defending the environment are protected by law, specific laws, so that this, what has happened to me and my family, doesn't happen again. But it's also quick to point out, and again, this is where this thing becomes messy. As you know, under the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, which to Zambia is a party, we have what are called National Determined Contributions, NDC.
Yes.
And Zambia, we have pledged to UNFCCC that we are going to contribute to climate change through 3 strategies. The first one we said, they are sustainable forests, meaning we shall keep our forests, because forests sequestrate carbon, we pull down carbon, that's one. We have also said sustainable agriculture, meaning the agriculture we shall do is one does not contribute to emissions, greenhouse gases. The third one, we said sustainable energy. That the energy we shall be using is such that it doesn't, like for instance, charcoal or cutting down trees. That is what we have said. So what we are doing to try and advocate for Forest 27 is meeting our obligation under sustainable forest and sustainable energy. So when now you say as a country we shall keep our forest, and someone is trying to say this is a government policy, sustainable forest, then you start to attacking. Where are we? Because we as environment are contributing to the three strategies that we put up for contributing to climate change, reducing the impact of climate change. So you can see what I said. These guys come, they don't even know where we are coming from in terms of climate change. Them, they are seeing everything for their stomachs. It is a very serious problem. As environmental team, we need to address this thing with the new president. They look good, but looking is another thing. We have to actualize that goodness by being active. Let's not go to sleep with the President Akainde. He has said nice things, but let's hold him to those things he has said sustainably. When you employ someone in your garden, don't go and say, no, Asenza. You find he has eaten your maize. So you must measure, hey, Bwana, what have you done today? That's what Zambians we must do. Let's hold these people to account. Let's not go to sleep. And that point I've raised, let's ensure that we advocate for defenders of the environment protection in law, just like we've done the whistleblower. Otherwise, we are in trouble.
So, Mr. Chimambo, thank you so much for sharing that background. In conclusion, I would ask you to give advice to the residents of Lusaka. What do you expect from them in terms of protecting their environment? Because when you talk about Forest 27 and natural resources, oftentimes people see them as something external out there. They don't connect it to themselves. What advice do you have for the residents of Lusaka and for the Zambians in general?
I think let's start with the Zambia. You remember what we said, that Zambia we have signed international treaties.
Yes.
One of the critical ones is water. Zambia has 40% of the water for the sub-region. And that is why we signed what is called the SADC Water Protocol to maintain these waters open. So as Zambians, the Luangwa, Chani, I mean, if you go to Mukushi, we have given those chaps called investors, these industrial farmers, they have thousands of hectares. Bajua, that's not agriculture, that's not development. So let's do those things that one will protect the environment, protect our water, and then it will protect us. You destroy the environment to protect water, you are in trouble. You remember what the new report, the International Panel on Climate Change, what they are saying now, which they've been saying from the fourth assessment report, is that we are going to have more floods, more droughts, those fires we were saying. But the intensity and the frequency of these things is going to be more. And this is exactly what's happening. So we should expect, for instance, I've said this too, we can have one month rain of Lusaka. In 3 days, you are seeing it everywhere. Now, if we have cut all the trees, what you are seeing in the misses, everywhere it will flood it. So that is why it's important that we begin to manage our water through reforestation program. But most important also, the new government, please, we know that you have put people in a misses compound. That is a wetland. The water table is just there. Ikalo Kamvula, and already it's on the surface. Those people must be moved away to some other place. So, town and country planning already start to look at what are the vulnerable areas where people are. It's called climate risk reduction. We need to do that. This DMMU must be revamped, not the way it's been used for political uselessness. It's a very important institution, but it really requires to be properly refocused. Now, a question would be asked. Mr. Chimambo, you are saying that town and country plan will move people from Mrs. compound and so on, and many others who are already in vulnerable places. People are now moving into game park areas. Where shall we take them? Where is the money? Timothy, you are an environmentalist. You know that 10, 15 years ago, when we came back from Cancun, we suggested to the then government, after we set up the Green Climate Funds, remember, that instead of waiting for money from Green Climate Fund to deal with the adaptation and mitigation of climate change, why don't we first create a fund, from our own resources? And that is where we proposed. I think Mrs. Mgala or the other gentleman in Mwandi, that friend of mine, means we proposed that we create this carbon tax. The purpose of the carbon tax was to raise money so that we use it for mitigation and adaptation to climate change and the management of the environment. And you remember that the environmental management, the EMA, there is a fund which we are supposed to have there. The Forest Act, there is a fund there. The Water Act, there is a fund there. And there are several funds. So our thinking as civil society, when we propose the carbon tax, that the Jandrama for carbon should go into the management of the forest, the management of the environment. Now, town and country planning, where are we going to put these Mrs. compound? That is, those are now vulnerable part or victims of climate change. That carbon tax money should now be used to move our people. So one of the things that we should insist is that the carbon tax, the new government, it must be transparently put there so that it is distributed and it is focused on environmental management, mitigation against climate change, and adaptation to climate change. Critical, therefore, we have created all these new towns. You need to town and country planning, the new planning. That resource could also make sure that we plan. I am a town here, Vumbui, the ones that have created. We have short, medium, and 50-year plan. We plan them nicely and climate proof them so that we don't have that thing which is happening in Solwezi, everybody doing their own thing. So that is, to me and the environmentalists, that is one of the critical things. The carbon tax must be targeted at mitigating climate change, management of the water resources, and so on. But so this new government must now remove that money from where it's been stolen and put it in a fund which can now be used transparently. You guys must know that this is where the money is put into management of the environment, etc. That is what I propose. Two critical things. The carbon tax must now go to carbon tax to reduce emissions for what it was. Two, my experience of the threat to my life, we need to put in place as environmental defenders registration so that people can speak freely, just like whistleblowers. Those are my critical suggestions to the new government, which as civil society we can pick up and run with. Mr. Temo.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chinambo.
Thank you.
We thank you for finding time to talk to us and share your wisdom and experiences. We hope this issue you're experiencing with people grabbing your land is resolved. We hope with the coming of the new government there will be law and order. That's what they're preaching, and we pray that's what will be practiced.
Yes.
So we wish you all the very best.
No, thank you very much, and give me an opportunity, to share these issues with yourselves and indeed the larger public out there. Yeah, thank you very, very much.
Most welcome.
Welcome to my place.
Most welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us in this discussion. We wish you a wonderful day.